is Dominic, wedding DJ.
And this is Serena, wedding planner.
And together we are the Wedding Duo. We are here to talk all things weddings.
Planning a wedding can be stressful, but we are here to help.
So before you say, that's it, we're going to Vegas, don't go to Vegas.
Let's have some fun.
Join us as we answer your wedding questions and help navigate planning one of the biggest days of your life with the Wedding Duo. Hello again, and welcome back to the Wedding Duo podcast. My name is Dominic. I'm a wedding DJ.
I'm Serena. I'm a wedding planner. We are the owners of At Last Entertainment and Events located in San Antonio, Texas. We are also the Wedding Duo. You may know us from TikTok, where we got started, but we have since branched out. We have a website, theweddingduo.co. We are on Instagram. And of course, here we are doing our podcast.
Can we say Facebook anymore?
I mean, yes, implied? Facebook as well.
We're on Facebook as well, of course, but
absolutely.
So on our last video, we talked a lot about hiring the vendors, and we're going to continue that because there's just a lot of vendors that you may potentially have. You don't necessarily need any of them, but you may want some of them. You may have somebody in your family that can pick up the slack on one of these categories. This video, the vendors we're going to talk about here are no less important than the other ones before we get some heat from a photo booth company that's like, why did you mention me in the first video? We ran out of time. We can't make these videos 7 hours each. So, or these podcasts. So, so we talked about a lot of the heavy hitters though, for sure in the last video.
Absolutely. And you did mention that you don't need any of these vendors, but there is one that you might need.
Oh, I'm curious. DJ. Is it DJ? Come on.
I mean, the DJ is very important, but
I think the DJ is very important.
If you're going to legally get married, you may want someone there to officiate it.
Oh,
so that is very important. And there are a few ways you can go about this. As you probably know, there are some great companies out there that do this professionally. So they have a team of officiants. You can see bios, talk to them in person, and that's a great way to find someone to marry you. But you can also, here in Texas at least, have someone ordained even online and have them do the ceremony for you, either an uncle or a friend or however that person might be.
Maybe the person that introduced you.
Yes.
But look for that person. If you're going to have somebody other than a professional do it, look for that person that maybe has a big personality, but more importantly, that is comfortable in front of a crowd.
Yes.
They have to be okay up there because, I guess like you said, legally, they don't have to be, but it makes for a better event and a better ceremony if they're comfortable up there, because I have had people just sweating through their suit and I'm just like, are you okay, dude? He's like, I'm like, who picked you? Why did you pick him? Because he is beside himself with anxiety because this is not, and it's not most people's comfort zone, right?
Absolutely not. I would not be comfortable officiating an event.
I'm shy.
No, you would be just fine.
I did it once. I'm ordained.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. You did that wedding.
They said, you were planning, remember? And they were saying, oh, we want you to do the wedding. I go, yeah, I'll be there. Music, microphones. They were like, no, we want you to do the wedding. I go, you want me to like Hominis, Dominus, something? I go, okay, sure. It was weird. We had to bring in somebody else to do the mics and run the music. But I was like, oh, I could do this for sure.
So the other category too, there's probably a third category. It's having someone from your church or getting married in the church.
The pastor, the priest.
Your pastor, your priest. So that's definitely an option as well. But as far as the actual ceremony goes and the verbiage that you're going to have provided to you or you're going to provide to the person, the average ceremony when it's not in a church is about 15 minutes long. I would say, we've done shorter ceremonies, we've done longer ceremonies for sure. But if you're looking for that sweet spot, that 15 kind of 20-minute mark, it is a good one.
Yeah. Some things to consider if you don't have much in the terms of like verbiage or substance to your wedding, maybe put a little bit more music. Maybe think about adding a ceremony. And there's several. There's a sand ceremony.
Right.
There's a cross assembly ceremony. There's a candle ceremony. There's a tree planting ceremony. There's a hand binding ceremony. Give me your hand. It's really cute. It's very Celtic. No. Like they hold it like this kind of, and then the officiant like wraps the band or the cord or the thing around. It's really very Braveheart Celtic. Very cool. It's a very cool thing. But look all these things up. The sand ceremony is really cool. That one's comes up a lot. And they have usually three jars. One is empty at the beginning, or it's like sometimes it's like a frame and there's a picture or your name or your monologue is in there or your picture. And there's like a blue sand and a maybe a pink sand, and you pour them in together. And then the verbiage says, the dialogue says, separating the two of you should be as hard as putting each piece of sand back in the original container sort of thing. It's more eloquent.
Very
than that.
lovely.
But it's a great symbol. The candle lighting, usually the parents light one candle and then the other parents light the other candle. And then the couple takes each candle and lights a middle candle. But you really need to be inside for that one. It could be not windy all day. And the minute you light those candles,
they'll blow out.
Like click, 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 click,
yeah,
click, click. It's really frustrating.
That can be frustrating. So definitely for indoors, the candle ceremony. And the other thing that you will want to consider adding possibly is a poem or reading. You can have someone, family or a friend, do something like that during the ceremony. We've seen Dr. Seuss. There's a great poem called The Hand Poem.
Oh, it's so good. It'll make you cry though.
Yeah. And it's perfect for
really
your ceremony. So that's a little bit about that category. Officiating, obviously very important. You need that part to legally bind you there at the altar.
But if you're not religious, I mean, if you are religious, of course, people say like, we're going to start with a prayer. We're going to, read Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. I hear that one a lot. That's a good one to incorporate in if you are religious. But if you're not religious, there's a lot of different directions you can go, right? And so that's why it's nice to incorporate the poem. Or if you have somebody in the family they're significant, maybe you wanted Papa to do something, they can come up and do a reading as well. It doesn't have to just be the officiant or the couple that's talking. Most of us DJs, we provide a lapel mic for the person doing the ceremony, the officiant. But then if they're doing personal vows, I'll put one on the groom as well. Mm-hmm. Usually the bride doesn't come with belts and pockets. It's hard to mic her up. Although I did it once when she sang down the aisle. She could really sing too. It was very weird. I was in there kind of like micing her up, like put the thing down the thing, and the bridesmaids were helping me. But she could really sing. But it's really nice if you're doing personal vows to be able to hear it. I don't know if you've been to a ceremony where you're in the second row and you're outside and you're like, I can't hear anything. You're like, just smile and nod.
Yeah.
So at least the officiant, so they can hear we're gathered here today. But it's when the groom starts to go, I go up, the groom's crying, turn it up to 11. That's the part people really want to hear, right?
I think we mentioned that last podcast.
I don't know, but I'm going to mention it again. It's great.
It's a great thing to remember.
Yeah. So we had another one recently where they had a song that was really special to them. And they asked me like, we just want you to play this song. And I go, well, what's happening when I play the song? And they were like, nothing. We're just going to sit and listen to the song. I go, wait, we're just going to sit there and shut up and listen to a song with great, meaningful lyrics? I go, oh my God, I think I love it. I love it. It was really great.
So hard for some people to do, but
it is.
It was really special, and it worked really well for them.
So anyway, yeah, there's your ceremony in a nutshell.
So one of our favorite vendors, and you'll probably be able to guess why, cake, right? Or desserts, right? So your baker.
This whole thing right here, this is all cake, right here. Wedding cake.
He's pointing to his lower chin if you're listening on the podcast. So there's a lot of trends lately to do non-traditional kind of wedding cakes. Maybe do a smaller cake where you can cut for pictures, and then do other types of desserts like mini cupcakes we've done. Oh my gosh, we've done donuts, we've done s'mores bar, we've done all sorts of things.
I think we may have mentioned the baker in the last one because I remember bringing up the buntinis.
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Buntinis, there you go.
Absolutely.
This is the little bundt cake. Those are fun too.
Yeah. And so the thing about cake and desserts is you definitely don't have to get like the full-on 5-tier major crazy cake if you're not into cake. So those are some options for you. But a tip about money saving for cake is if you want a multiple tiered cake, but you don't want to pay for each of them to be an actual cake.
Or if you don't have 250 people.
You can have faux layers. So I'm not a baker. I'm not going to talk about how they do this or what's recommended for that. But I do know that we've had events where the first 2-3 layers are actually styrofoam kind of material.
They're still frosted. You can't tell from the outside.
Absolutely.
Or frosted or something.
They're decorated.
Fonded.
Yeah. Fonded.
Is that a thing? Fonded.
But you actually only cut into the bottom 2. And then they'll have sheet cake in the back sometimes, and they'll cut and serve that for your guests.
It's very efficient.
Very efficient.
Just make sure if you are doing a picture where you're cutting the cake that somebody knows which is the actual cake layer and which is the one like, it's not cutting. You're like, really saw into it. You're like, okay, now you've chopped into a fake layer of the cake.
Yeah. And you're like, why is this cake so dry?
That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, we're not going for funny usually at the weddings.
So again, we'll mention this just like we did in the last video. You're going to want to talk to the experts on this when you are deciding on who to hire. So in any of the categories we're mentioning, it's great to get the influence of the people who do this for a living. We're just kind of covering them, a little bit, touching on it so that we can give some tips, but
we're in the peripheral. We deal with all these categories weekly.
Right.
Sometimes we do 10 events in a week. Sometimes when we talk to them, we deal with them, we're talking to them. But even when you're at the event, the cake is a thing. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, DJ, grab that side of the table. We're going to move the cake. I go, I really don't want to be involved in moving the cake.
I don't like moving the cake.
Because some of the bakers will show up and they'll have it disassembled and then we'll assemble it there with maybe the florist has dropped off some flowers that are going to be put on the cake. And there's a whole assembly process there. Mm-hmm. There's other things. Some of them, I mentioned the fondant. Some of them will be covered in fondant. Some of them will be buttercream. But there's also things there, like the buttercream may need to be refrigerated and not sit out the whole time. Whereas if it has fondant on it, you could have a nuclear blast and it would still look beautiful.
Again, this is not
is very durable.
Right. But this is not our lane. So we're just giving you information that have gotten from other of our baker friends.
And the baker will probably ask that question. If you're going to do buttercream, she can be like, okay, but is there refrigeration there? So those are just questions that may come up. But I have seen some where they put the cake up in a corner near the windows, right? And then halfway through, I'm like, I'll grab the planner. Is it just me or is the cake listing slightly to the left? And we're like, so we're going to cut the cake now because we don't want, I always say, what are they going to say Monday morning at the water cooler? Like, oh, how was the wedding? Oh my God, the cake fell over. That's not
the memory.
That's not what they want. The first thing they want to say, oh, it was fun. The bride was beautiful. The food was great. I was so drunk.
Right. Those are the fantastic memories you want to make.
That's not, no.
Right. Absolutely.
So what other category do we have?
We want to talk about some floral and decor. So I get the question a lot, how can we save money on flowers? Because flowers are expensive, right? And some couples, some brides in particular, are not that into flowers. And they'll ask me about alternative decorations. And so there are obviously a lot of ways you can decorate without floral if you'd like. My rules, or I wouldn't say rules, but suggestions about floral is if you can get close enough to it to touch it, it should be like real for the most part.
The table.
Like on the table or your bouquets.
Yes. And again, I've seen fake bouquets that look really convincing and you're like, I get up close, I'm like, oh wow, it's not even real.
Right. But if you're asking for a line, right? If you're asking my opinion on when do you think I should use real flowers and when can I use faux flowers?
Because inevitably somebody out there is like, oh my God, I would never, like, exactly. You would never, but that's why we're talking in generalities. And,
absolutely.
And if we haven't said on this video yet, your wedding day is so personal. Mm-hmm. It is so personal. If you have a crazy cousin, it's like, oh my God, why would you ever do that? Like, well, I would do that because it's not your day. You
right.
do whatever the hell you want on your wedding day. This is my wedding day. So I would say, don't let somebody talk you into something you really want to do or talk you out of something that you have your heart set on. And flowers is a great example because it can be really expensive. And if your cousin broke the budget and had these unbelievable florals hanging from the ceiling and it looked like you were going down the aisle like Twilight, like Belle on the, wasn't it Belle on Twilight? Yeah.
Yes.
That's expensive. I had somebody mention that. I go, oh my God, your whole budget is going to be these flowers that you saw in the Twilight movie. So,
but that's okay too. If that's where you want to put your money and you've always envisioned that, 100% go for it.
And she totally should have married the werewolf. Am I right? I mean, I don't remember the names now. What was it? Team Vincent
Edward
and Team Phil. No,
Edward.
Team
was
Edward.
One of them.
No, he was the he was a vampire
for sure.
Sparkly skin. It sparkled when the sun.
Don't whisper. They can't hear you.
They heard me. They heard me. They know exactly what I said.
So on that topic too, you can do alternating centerpieces. This is kind of just random, but you don't have to do the same centerpiece on each table is I guess what I mean. So you could, if you had 8 tables, let's say, you could do a really full, really crazy floral piece on 4 of them, and then something more minimal, maybe candles, greenery on the other 4. And so that it kind of looks not
so symmetrical. It's kind of
the word I was
kind of variety.
For.
And a lot of times people repurpose it. You'll have these gorgeous flowers on the arch behind the altar at the ceremony. And then there's a planner or a mother-in-law.
Or the florist sometimes
to ground, snip, snip, snip. And they move those down and they put them in front of the sweetheart table or somewhere else in the room.
Right.
And so you got to use them for more than just one and done, right? So
absolutely. The other thing I've had couples do is use the bridesmaids bouquets as a part of their centerpieces. So they'll actually have the bridesmaids come in after cocktail hour and either be introduced and then put the bouquet in the vase with water on the tables, or we'll gather them at cocktail hour and we'll put them in there for them.
Because after the ceremony, a lot of times you see the bouquets just piled on a table in the bride suite. I mean, usually the bride's bouquet is somewhere significant
on the sweetheart table,
on the head table. Sometimes there's a vase for that too, but you should account for that when you're looking at the table. Like, oh, we have the bouquets are going to go in a vase somewhere too. So
absolutely,
that's another whole thing. So when she said the fake versus the real, somewhere like at the altar, like you said, no one's going to be up at the altar except y'all. And the guests are going to be seated pretty far away. So that's somewhere, if you wanted to use fake flowers, that'd be one spot. If they're up in the air, because obviously people say, where else would you put them besides the table? Of course, on the table. But sometimes people have them suspended up above. There's like a bar somewhere that's very commonly used for
hanging the
flowers or putting the flowers up there. So there's another place you could do somewhere that maybe they weren't real. And they can be really very realistic. However, sometimes the fake flowers can be expensive as well.
Yeah. And I was going to say, sometimes you really need to price it out, because depending on where you're buying it from, if you're having it shipped in, or, you're buying from a local vendor, it may be the same price and more work. This is the other thing. The DIY part is a lot, right? Who's going to put those flowers together, and who's going to put them out on the day of your wedding? So that's definitely something.
The florists are like Jedis when it comes.
They are
like witchcraft. They're like, oh, just put up. Was it somebody said like, this one's a little droopy. Put a little bit of warm water in there, and it was like, bing, and it popped right back out.
Yeah.
Oh, holy cow!
They're amazing.
Like a witch? I didn't understand how she did it. Or there were these. I saw these one time. They were sunflowers, which I don't see a lot of sunflowers, which is a shame because they're such a big, beautiful.
He likes the sunflowers.
I always like the sunflowers. Calla lilies are my favorite, but you put the sunflower in there, and then they put some food coloring in the water, and it pulled. They were like a sunflower, but it had red in the things, and I go, where the hell did you plant that thing?
So what you're saying is,
they cut it.
It was yellow.
It was a yellow.
It started yellow.
You would see.
Okay.
And then it pulled the red into it, and it was this very, very
cool. So the flower actually turned red.
Not entirely. It still had yellow, but it had like these veins of like red coming through.
Trick.
Oh, it was. I saw it. I was like, oh, what is that? Witchcraft. What sorcery? Amazing. What sorcery is this?
So to that point, your vendors in any of these specific categories, they are experts, and they can help you with all these fun tips and tricks and how to get the better price during the different times of year for the flowers you may want, or this might be a better flower for this time of year if you want this color. So definitely lean on them for those pieces.
It's got to be seasonal stuff too, right?
Absolutely.
They're like, I really want calla lilies. We can get them, but we got to ship them in from Fiji. And
yes, that is a factor.
It's going to be expensive. And so, time of year, and I don't know.
And the colors and the flowers that you want in particular.
So talk to your florist.
Absolutely. So the next category that we thought we would touch upon would be definitely something that we don't see at every event, but we do see it at quite a few, and that's videography, right? And we get this question a lot, like, do I need a videographer? Well, of course you don't need one. I mean, a lot of these categories you could definitely say you don't need.
You only need a DJ. See, there I go again. No, you don't need a DJ.
No. But the thing about videography is, especially if you're a truly like sentimental person.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. You are so sappy.
I'm a train wreck. So,
so if you are someone who is going to want to watch the video over and over again, or on your anniversary, or show people, it is an amazing way to capture and memorialize, your day.
It's the coolest thing. It's like your day goes by. People say this all the time, and it's very true. You're going to be like, blink, blink, blink. Thank you. Good night. And be like, holy cow, 18 months of planning.
Like that.
Thousands of dollars, and you're like, blink, 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 and it's over. And there's going to be parts of the night that you just went by in a blink of an eye, or maybe you were out of the room, or maybe the guys were getting ready and you were obviously not there when the guys were getting ready. The videographer will capture all that, and they put together this movie at the end. And it's like you're the star of the movie on your wedding day. It is an amazing keepsake.
Yeah, they record your vows. They'll record the toasts. They'll use those in the video, and it just changes the feel. I can't even explain it. Like,
Uncle
it's
Charlie's
just so
dance
great.
Moves, because there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be things that happen that you wouldn't have been there, and you'll see it. The day goes by so fast. You can relive the day again on your anniversary. You can watch it every day. You can send it to people that maybe couldn't attend. They can show the video. You show your kids someday. Ooh, did I jump ahead too far? You jump ahead to show your kids someday. But it is and these guys are artists. I mean, they put together this masterpiece. So if you ever go to an open house, or you go to a bridal fair and there's a videographer there, I would say just stop and watch some of their work, because it's just like the photographers. They're going to have a certain style, But man, if they're there and that's what they do, I guarantee you're going to be like, oh my gosh,
It's impressive.
I need this.
It's
I
impressive.
didn't
The
know I
good
needed
ones
this, but
are
I need this.
impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's an option. And the other option that's kind of in the same realm of photography and videography is a photo booth, right?
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, it's not like in the same budgetary
it's not the
category.
Same. It doesn't always have a comma, whereas
but it has to do with pictures. That's what I meant. So something that has surprised me over the years is that photo booths have stayed relevant. Like there's trends in weddings and they come and go as far as like vendor categories are concerned. But photo booths,
things that come and go.
Yeah, exactly. Like things that people like to have at the event. But a photo booth has stuck around. And I think the reason for this is it's a great keepsake. You get to see those pictures up on the fridge for years to come.
Oh,
and you will remember that you got them at, Aunt Sheila's wedding.
Raise your hand. How many people listening are like, oh, I have 4 on my refrigerator right now?
I mean, we have so many. I mean, we do events, so of course we do.
But yeah, so we have lots of them because sometimes they'll be like, hey, come over here and let's test it out. And we're like,
let's do this.
Do the pose.
We do the poses.
Do the Charlie's Angels pose. But, and as a DJ, I'm not a fan of the photo booth because people love it so much. I'm trying to get people on the dance floor. I'm like, hey, turn the photo booth off and get those people back on the dance floor.
But that doesn't mean you're not a fan.
Put the cake away because now everyone's going to eat their cake and now everyone's going outside because the fire pit's turned on.
They're supposed to be dancing, right?
Get on the dance floor. Never mind. That's my job. I will compete with all
I was going to say, you better get better.
No, but the photo booth is really, and that's another category. You're like, oh, look, I found one for $200. Well, you might want to see what that is.
Absolutely.
There may not be an attendant. It could just be an iPad in a case, whereas some of them, like the ones we have, has a really nice camera. It takes really nice pictures.
Absolutely.
And we offer that. We have
customize.
Yeah, we'll customize it. We'll personalize the printout. You get a printout. We'll send all the pictures to you afterwards. So you get to see all of them.
Right.
Whereas some, and again, everybody's different. So that's another thing and the price with all these categories, I don't want to say just a blanket, you get what you pay for statement, but there's a reason why that's a saying, right? Because
absolutely.
Even with a DJ, I always say like, if somebody's under $500, I'm not trying to hate on any DJs that are out there trying to get their name established. Cause we started pretty low too, as we were just getting our name established. But, I would say like, well, have you done a wedding before? You just buy some speakers on Craigslist and say, I could totally do this. Cause those guys are out there too,
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's so true that like you said, you get what you pay for. In the wedding industry, that's definitely a thing that separates some of the vendors for sure.
Okay. Let me start a category.
Okay.
How about rentals? Let's talk rentals.
Right. And when you talk about rentals, oh my gosh, that's like such a broad category.
It is.
There could be furniture rentals, like vintage chairs and like lounge furniture.
Somewhere you just bring in some really cool stuff. Maybe you rent a
boxwood wall like we have behind us.
Sign like with the two of you, the neon lights have been really popular on a boxwood with the vintage, chairs or maybe a love seat.
Absolutely.
So the thing that has like that you would lay down on like Kramer did.
A chaise?
Yes. Like not Kramer. George laid down in Seinfeld. It's a Seinfeld reference. Any Seinfeld fans
going
know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's going to be some cool pictures.
Right. So there are companies, I'm sure in your area, just like here, that's what they do. They have a warehouse literally of furniture and stuff and things that are fun and funky. And you can have a whole boho theme of a little cart with, oh my gosh, it's just incredible what they carry.
Let me tell you my favorite.
Okay.
I was at an outdoor wedding and they had rented all these different glasses. The glassware was all different colors and it was colored and they were all kind of really cool, unique,
like
vintage, but they rented that, right? And they came out and they put them all out. And when the sun hit it, I mean, the colors, I couldn't even.
They were like jewel tones.
Usually the flowers are like the highlight for the colors on the table. Maybe the linens, maybe the runners, but oh my gosh, the glassware like stole the show. I was like, that is beautiful. So cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. And so you can get really creative with bringing things in that you don't actually have to purchase, right? So these are things that they will come and drop off and then pick up at the end of the night.
Other things you may need just chairs and tables, right? So that's something else you may have the other end of the spectrum. That's like not the fancy stuff, like the vintage, whatever. You're just like, I just need 100 chairs and 23 tables, chair covers, linens. You can rent those things.
Absolutely.
Just other tables, a cake table. I mean, you can rent all kinds of stuff. Backdrops, pipe and drape. It's crazy the stuff you can get.
So anything you want, pretty much. And then the other category too is like flatware. You can get charger plates. You can get, different types of glassware, different types of silverware. And so if you're really looking for an upscale, maybe like a plated meal, sometimes people will bring in those items as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the last category that we're going to talk about is just
okay,
fun, funky things we've seen. Okay. So like random stuff, like for example,
alpacas. I jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
You jumped ahead. That should have been the last thing we
No,
talked
they have
about.
a little hat. The alpacas come with, they have a little sombrero and their head is big and puffy, but their necks are shaped. It's the
So why do they bring the alpacas?
Pictures.
For pictures.
Usually there's 2 of them. And I feel like they're less, I don't know. I've seen llamas, but I don't know. The alpacas, maybe their personality. I don't know. Who's the alpaca people out there that are like, oh, alpacas are so much better.
Comment with, your experience with alpacas.
They're definitely fluffier. That's been my experience.
The other thing,
they're fluffier.
Fluffy. Oh, yeah. Fluffy for sure.
Fluffy.
The other animal that comes to the event sometimes are beer burros, the donkeys, right? They'll carry those satchels and they'll have wine or beer in their satchels. And that's a lot of fun.
The ones that I worked with so often, I knew their names. It was like Annie Oakley and John Wayne were the 2 of them. But then John Wayne had gotten Annie Oakley pregnant. So she was on maternity leave. She had her hooves up and they brought in somebody else. I can't think of the name though. But I was like, oh, I did a whole TikTok on it.
It's very cute.
I've seen baby goats.
Baby goats
For pictures. That was cute. Puppies.
I've
never seen puppies. Full disclosure, I've never seen puppies. I'm just
seen
putting
a
it out
TikTok
there.
on-
I want puppies. People their own dogs. People have brought their own dogs. I just want people to bring in a box of puppies and you can take pictures with it. Is that bad?
I don't like it. I feel like it's like
PETA's going to get after me.
Absolutely, yes.
PETA.
So another category that I started to mention before you jumped in with the alpacas, cigar rollers.
Rollers.
This is a fun thing. Sometimes the groom will really insist on something like this. And it's a gentleman usually who's sitting there rolling live cigars. And they are really talented.
It's pretty swanky.
Another one we have here locally is a cotton candy vendor. Oh my gosh. So there's a couple companies that do it, but the one I'm thinking of in particular, she just makes these organic flavored cotton candy and it's so
colorful.
Good.
We had one that had an LED light inside of it. And so when you hold the cotton candy, it like looks like you're at a carnival.
Yes.
This is very cool. Tell them about Tipsy Cow. Tipsy
Cow is a fantastic vendor that does liquor-infused ice cream. You can have, bourbon in your coffee ice cream and for like a late night snack or a treat for your guests.
And you can do lots of ice cream stuff. There's an ice cream bar. They can do ice cream truck. But this particular one, like I remember tasting it. I was like, that's an odd taste. I'm not a drinker, but I'm like, I've never had, I go, oh, Tipsy Cow.
There's alcohol.
I connected the dots there with Tipsy Cow because there's alcohol in it.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different stuff that we've seen though.
No, it can be fantastic. So don't feel like you have to be like inside the box for any of this stuff. If you have a certain thing that you love, for example, oh my gosh, what have we seen brought in? Like
cosplay. Have Batman and Spider-Man. And
during your reception.
What's the moon? The
what?
The girl. She's more anime.
I don't know what you're talking about, honestly.
I can't think of Star Moon, something Moon, the chick with the little sailor outfit.
Sailor Moon.
Bam, there it is. Sailor. No, don't bring her to the ceremony.
That's weird.
Be very distracting.
I mean, not weird. I mean, it's not weird. If you like that, it's not
LED
weird.
robots. There you go. There's
that is another thing
in town here that brings dancing LED robots.
LED robots.
They're huge. So there's something else.
So
that's more of a quinceañera thing, but
no, they do it at weddings sometimes.
They do at weddings.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the point is, make it your own, right? Like if you have something you've always wanted at an event or a party and it's your wedding, you can bring it in. You can somehow find a way. There are ways to incorporate your personality, your favorite things in your wedding day.
And we didn't even mention when we were talking about the bakers, the groom's cake. A lot of times they'll bring in a groom's cake and it's like, it's a transformer or it's a stormtrooper or it's his Mustang. We had one with the Mustangs and the lights actually worked. And then I did a TikTok at the beginning and then we did one at the end where it was all chopped up and the headlights were just sitting there and they were still on. I was like, look, the headlights still work. The car has been decimated. We did it's on Indiana Jones one. We've had the little cake toppers. They had the little Lego cake toppers, the little bobbleheads. It was one with the little, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff.
So much stuff.
So many ways you can personalize it. You should go to our TikTok.
We have a lot. So we'll sum it up there. If you don't already follow us on Instagram or TikTok, please do. You can ask questions in the comments either on this video on YouTube or anywhere you're listening to it as a podcast.
All those TikToketeers out there, follow along. We have lots of good
We do.
Good stuff on
We
there.
really enjoy our TikTok. I think
I just did one today. It was good.
We'll probably do another. So happy wedding planning, y'all. We are the wedding duo here. We are excited for this journey of podcasting with you.
More to come. Congratulations, everybody who's engaged, and happy wedding planning. Hey, so thanks for listening to our podcast. If you found any of this information helpful and you know someone who may be engaged or is a maid of honor, maybe you could tell them and share it with a friend.
Absolutely. So screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, on Facebook, and tag the wedding duo. We promise to share the love back. Also, if you are interested in more resources or the show notes, you can go to theweddingduo.co. We have one-on-one virtual sessions, a shop, all sorts of fun stuff. Check it out.